$28,000. That's what I spent on Tyler's birthday present, and I watched it all crumble in 88 words that changed everything between us forever. The champagne glass caught the dining room light as Tyler stood up at his 20th birthday dinner, surrounded by 15 family members who had gathered to celebrate this milestone. I had just handed him the keys to a brand new Ford pickup truck parked outside, complete with extended cab and premium sound system. Tyler raised that glass high and declared, "To my idiot uncle trying to buy respect with money." Every single person at that table erupted in laughter. My sister Sarah nearly choked on her wine. Uncle Frank slapped the table. Even Tyler's grandmother was giggling behind her napkin. 15 pairs of eyes turned to me, waiting for my reaction to what they clearly saw as the funniest moment of the evening. I felt my face burn with embarrassment as the laughter continued around me. Without saying a word, I pushed back my chair, walked straight to the front door, and left those keys sitting on Sarah's coffee table, where I had placed them with such pride just minutes before. My name is Richard, and at 35, I had built something I was genuinely proud of. After dropping out of college during my sophomore year, I spent the next decade building a software consulting firm that specialized in helping small businesses modernize their operations. Starting from my studio apartment with nothing but a used laptop and determination, I had grown the company to employ 12 people and generate over $2 million in annual revenue. Success hadn't come easily, but it had come consistently. Every client project taught me something new about problem solving. Every setback forced me to become more resilient, and every small victory built towards something bigger. By the time Tyler graduated high school, I owned a house in a quiet neighborhood outside Denver, drove a reliable car that I had paid for in cash, and maintained a healthy savings account that allowed me to help family when they needed it. My older sister Sarah had taken a different path through life. At 38, she was raising Tyler as a single mother after her husband Derek abandoned them when Tyler was only 8 years old. Derek had simply vanished one day, leaving behind unpaid bills, broken promises, and a little boy who kept asking when Daddy was coming home. Sarah worked as a receptionist at a dental office, earning enough to cover basic expenses, but struggling with anything beyond rent, groceries, and utilities. For 12 years, I had been sending Sarah $500 every month to help with Tyler's expenses. I paid for his enrollment at Riverside Preparatory Academy, a private school known for its excellent college placement program. When Tyler wanted to join the baseball team, I bought his equipment and paid the fees. When he needed a graphing calculator for advanced mathematics, I had it delivered the next day. When the school offered SAT preparation courses that cost $800, I wrote the check without hesitation. I genuinely enjoyed being able to provide these opportunities for Tyler. Watching him excel academically and develop into a confident young man felt like one of my greatest accomplishments. When he called to tell me about getting accepted to Colorado State University for mechanical engineering, I felt prouder than I had about any business deal I'd ever closed. The truck idea came naturally. Tyler had mentioned during our phone conversations that many of his college-bound friends were getting cars from their families. He had shown me pictures online of a Ford pickup truck that he particularly admired, pointing out features like the extended cab for storage and the four-wheel drive system that would be perfect for Colorado winters. He never directly asked for anything, but his enthusiasm for that specific model was obvious during our discussions about his upcoming transition to college life. I spent 2 weeks researching dealerships, comparing prices, and selecting the exact configuration Tyler had described. Midnight blue exterior, gray cloth interior, premium audio system, and every safety feature available. The final price was $28,400, but seeing Tyler's face when he first saw that truck would be worth every penny. At least that's what I believed until 3 days before his birthday party. While checking my email that Tuesday evening, I noticed a notification from Facebook suggesting I look at Tyler's recent posts. Curious about what he might be sharing during such an exciting time in his life, I clicked through to his profile page. What I discovered there felt like a punch to the stomach. Post after post showed Tyler mocking my efforts to be part of his life. Photos of gifts I had given him were accompanied by captions like "another guilt offering from Uncle Richard," and "my uncle thinks expensive stuff makes up for not having a real personality." His friends were commenting with laughing emojis and encouraging him to milk the rich uncle for more expensive gifts. One post from the previous weekend particularly stung. Tyler had shared a photo of the college acceptance letter I had helped him frame, writing, "Look what my uncle thinks gives him the right to parent me." Dude seriously believes he bought himself a family. Pretty sad for a 35-year-old guy with no kids and no girlfriend. The responses from his friends were even worse. They were actively encouraging Tyler to manipulate me for larger and more expensive gifts. One friend wrote, "Tell him you need a laptop for college and see how much he'll spend." Another suggested, "Play up the family bond thing and ask for college spending money too." Reading through months of these posts, I realized Tyler saw our relationship completely differently than I did. Where I saw genuine care and investment in his future, he saw manipulation and attempted control. Where I saw family love, he saw loneliness and desperation. Where I saw generous support, he saw someone trying to purchase affection. But I had already ordered the truck. The paperwork was signed, the financing was arranged, and Tyler's 20th birthday was 3 days away. Maybe I thought actually receiving such a significant gift would help him understand that my intentions were genuine. Maybe seeing the time and effort I had put into selecting something he truly wanted would demonstrate that my care for him was real. I was wrong about that, completely and devastatingly wrong. The birthday party proceeded exactly as planned. Sarah had decorated her dining room with balloons and streamers. Extended family members arrived with cards and smaller gifts. Tyler seemed genuinely happy and excited as he opened presents from his grandmother, his cousins, and family friends. When I finally presented him with the truck keys, his initial reaction appeared to be authentic surprise and gratitude. For about 10 minutes, everything felt perfect. Tyler examined the keys, asked questions about the truck's features, and even hugged me in front of everyone. I felt vindicated in my decision to go through with such an expensive gift, despite discovering his social media posts. Then came the toast, and everything I thought I understood about our family dynamic crumbled in front of 15 witnesses who found my humiliation absolutely hilarious. The next morning arrived gray and cold, matching my mood perfectly. I'd barely slept replaying Tyler's toast and the family's laughter over and over in my mind. By 6:30, I was dressed and driving toward Sarah's house, needing to see for myself what had become of the truck I had so carefully selected. Tyler lived in a small rental house about 4 miles from his mother's place, a modest 2-bedroom property that Sarah helped him afford as he finished his senior year of high school. As I turned onto Maple Street, I could see his driveway from 2 blocks away. It was completely empty. I parked across the street and stared at the vacant concrete pad where $28,000 worth of Ford pickup truck should have been sitting. The absence felt surreal, like staring at a magic trick where something substantial had simply vanished into thin air. My phone rang before I could decide what to do next. Tyler's name appeared on the screen and I answered without saying hello. "Uncle Richard, someone stole my truck." His voice was frantic, bordering on hysterical. "I woke up this morning and it's gone." "You need to call the police right now and the insurance company. This is insane." I held the phone away from my ear as Tyler continued shouting about his stolen property and demanding immediate action. His tone carried no trace of the mockery from the night before, no hint of the cynical amusement he had displayed while humiliating me in front of our entire family. This was pure panic and outrage. "Tyler," I said quietly when he paused for breath, "don't you understand what I'm telling you? Someone broke into my driveway and stole my birthday present. You have to fix this situation right now. I'm supposed to drive to Colorado in 2 weeks for orientation." How am I supposed to get to college without my truck? The possessive language struck me immediately. My truck, my birthday present, my transportation to college. In Tyler's mind, the vehicle had become his property the moment I handed him those keys, regardless of how he had chosen to publicly mock the gesture. Tyler, I need you to listen to me carefully. No, you need to listen to me. I need you to call the dealership and report this theft. I need you to file an insurance claim. I need you to get my truck back. I let him continue his demands for another minute before speaking again. The truck wasn't stolen, Tyler. I had it towed back to the dealership this morning using my spare key. The title is still in my name, and I returned it for a full refund. The silence that followed lasted so long I thought the call had disconnected. You did what? His voice had dropped to a dangerous whisper. I took the truck back. After your speech last night, it became clear that you don't appreciate gifts from your idiot uncle who tries to buy respect with money. You can't do that. You gave it to me. It's mine now. Actually, Tyler, legally speaking, it was never yours. The registration, insurance, and loan were all in my name. You had possession of the keys for approximately 12 hours. This is insane. You can't just give someone a present and then take it back because your feelings got hurt. His outrage was genuine and absolute. Tyler truly believed that accepting a gift created permanent ownership regardless of his behavior toward the gift giver. The concept that respect and gratitude might be connected to continued generosity seemed completely foreign to him. You're right, I said. I shouldn't have given you something I wasn't prepared to let you keep. That was my mistake. Damn right it was your mistake. Now you need to fix it. Go get my truck back right now. I ended the call without responding and sat in my car staring at Tyler's empty driveway while trying to process what had just happened. The young man I had supported for 12 years, whose education I had funded and whose future I had invested in, was screaming at me about property rights regarding a gift he had publicly mocked less than 24 hours earlier. 30 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was Sarah. Richard, what the hell is wrong with you? She was already shouting before I could say hello. Tyler just called me crying about his truck. How could you do something so cruel to your own nephew? Sarah, did you hear what Tyler said at dinner last night? So what, he's 20 years old. Young people make jokes that doesn't give you the right to traumatize him by stealing his birthday present. The word stealing hit me like a slap. According to both Tyler and Sarah, returning my own property was theft, while publicly humiliating the person who had purchased that property was just harmless joking around. He called me an idiot in front of our entire family. He said I was trying to buy respect with money. Everyone laughed. Oh, grow up, Richard. You're 35 years old. Are you seriously going to punish a kid because he hurt your precious feelings? This isn't about hurt feelings, Sarah. This is about respect and appreciation. Tyler made it very clear how he feels about gifts from me. You know what, you're absolutely right. He made it clear, and now I'm making something clear too. You went back on your word to a 20-year-old kid who was counting on that truck for college. You humiliated him in front of his friends when they came over to see it this morning and found an empty driveway. You broke a promise to family. I was about to respond when Sarah said something that stopped me cold. We all knew Tyler was planning to say something funny during his toast. Derek called him last week and gave him the idea. We thought it would be harmless teasing like what families do with each other. None of us expected you to react like such a baby about it. Derek called him. The line went quiet. Sarah had revealed something she hadn't intended to share. Sarah, are you telling me that Derek has been in contact with Tyler? Look, Richard, Derek is Tyler's father. He has every right to talk to his own son. Derek abandoned Tyler 12 years ago. He hasn't paid a penny of child support or shown any interest in his son's life. Now suddenly, he's giving Tyler advice about how to mock the uncle who has been supporting him. It's not like that. Derek has been trying to reconnect with Tyler. He wants to be part of his life again. And part of being in Tyler's life again involves teaching him to humiliate me in public. Sarah's voice became defensive and uncertain. Derek said that Tyler needed to learn independence. That your generosity was making Tyler dependent and weak. He said that young men need to establish boundaries with family members who try to control them through money. The pieces were falling into place now. Derek, who had been absent for Tyler's entire adolescence, had suddenly reappeared with opinions about parenting and family dynamics. Derek, who had contributed nothing to Tyler's education or development, was now concerned about Tyler's independence. Derek, who had abandoned his financial and emotional responsibilities as a father, was advising Tyler about the dangers of accepting help from family members. How long has Derek been talking to Tyler? I don't know, a few months maybe. And you didn't think to mention this to me. Derek is Tyler's father, Richard. Tyler has every right to have a relationship with his own father without clearing it with you first. But I could hear the uncertainty in Sarah's voice. She was beginning to realize that she had revealed information that painted the previous night's events in a completely different light. Tyler's toast hadn't been spontaneous teenage humor. It had been coached humiliation designed by a man who had been absent from his son's life for over a decade. Sarah, I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Has Derek been telling Tyler things about me? Another long pause. He might have mentioned that your generosity could be manipulative. Manipulative how Derek thinks that maybe you're trying to replace him as Tyler's father figure. He says that wealthy people sometimes use money to control family relationships. He's worried that Tyler might become too dependent on you and lose his own sense of identity. I felt sick. Derek had been poisoning Tyler against me for months, filling his head with suspicions about my motivations and preparing him to reject my support. The birthday toast hadn't been a spontaneous moment of teenage disrespect. It had been the culmination of a deliberate campaign to turn Tyler against the uncle who had been providing for him since Derek disappeared. And you agreed with Derek's assessment. Sarah's voice became small and defensive. I don't know, Richard. Maybe sometimes it did seem like Tyler looked up to you more than he should. Maybe Derek had a point about independence. So you helped plan last night? We didn't plan anything. Derek just suggested that Tyler should try being more assertive about his own identity. The toast was Tyler's own idea. But I could hear the lie in her voice. The whole family had known what Tyler was planning to say. They had all been prepared to laugh at my expense. My sister, who had accepted my financial support for 12 years, had participated in orchestrating my public humiliation because her ex-husband had convinced her that my generosity was somehow harmful to her son. I ended the call and sat in my car for another hour watching Tyler's empty driveway and trying to understand how completely I had misjudged my place in my own family's life. Over the next 3 days, I found myself unable to concentrate on work or sleep properly. The conversation with Sarah kept replaying in my mind, particularly her admission that Derek had been coaching Tyler for months. I needed to understand exactly what had been happening behind my back and how long this manipulation had been going on. Marcus Webb was an old friend from high school who had become a guidance counselor at Riverside Preparatory Academy, the private school where Tyler was finishing his senior year. Marcus and I met for coffee every few months to catch up on life, and he had always spoken positively about Tyler's academic performance and attitude. If anyone would have insight into Tyler's recent behavior changes, it would be Marcus. I called him Thursday morning and suggested meeting for lunch. Marcus agreed immediately, mentioning that he had been hoping to talk to me about Tyler anyway. That comment worried me, but I tried to stay optimistic until we could speak face to face. We met at a small cafe near the school, and Marcus looked uncomfortable from the moment he sat down across from me. He ordered coffee and spent several minutes stirring it nervously before finally looking up at me. Richard, I'm glad you called. I've been concerned about Tyler for the past few weeks, and I wasn't sure if I should reach out to you or Sarah directly. What kind of concerns? Marcus glanced around the restaurant, making sure no other customers were close enough to overhear our conversation. Tyler's attitude toward college has changed completely. 3 months ago, he was excited about Colorado State and talking about studying mechanical engineering. He was asking about internship opportunities and planning his class schedule. Now he seems almost resentful about the whole thing. Resentful how he keeps talking about how college is just another way for family members to control his choices. He says he feels pressured to pursue engineering because that's what other people expect from him, not because it's what he really wants to do. This was completely contrary to every conversation I had had with Tyler about his future. He had chosen engineering himself after spending a summer working with a local construction company and discovering his interest in how buildings and machines were designed. His college applications had been his own initiative, and his excitement about the program at Colorado State had seemed completely genuine. Has he mentioned changing his major or transferring to a different school? Marcus shook his head. That's what makes this so strange. He's not talking about changing his academic plans. He's talking about not going to college at all. I felt my stomach drop. What do you mean? Last week, Tyler asked me about gap year options and deferring enrollment. He wanted to know if he could postpone starting college for a year without losing his acceptance. When I asked him why he was considering this, he said he needed time to figure out what he really wanted instead of just following other people's expectations. Did he mention anything about family pressure? That's the part that really concerns me. Tyler has been talking about his biological father quite a bit recently. Apparently, Derek has been encouraging Tyler to take time before college to find himself and develop independence from family influence. Marcus paused and took a sip of coffee before continuing. Richard, I've been working with teenagers for 15 years and I've seen this pattern before. When an absent parent suddenly reappears during a child's transition to adulthood, they often try to disrupt existing family relationships by positioning themselves as the liberating alternative to controlling family members. Has Tyler mentioned me specifically? Yes, and that's why I wanted to talk to you. Tyler has been describing you as manipulative and controlling. He says you use money to force him into making decisions that benefit you rather than him. He's convinced that your support for his education is really about making him dependent on you so you can control his future. This was devastating to hear, but not entirely surprising given what Sarah had revealed about Derek's influence. What shocked me was how completely Tyler had accepted these characterizations of our relationship. Marcus has Tyler said anything about his plans if he doesn't go to college. That's the most concerning part. He's been talking about moving to Arizona to live with Derek. Apparently, Derek has been promising Tyler that he can learn more about life and independence by working with his hands instead of sitting in college classrooms. Derek lives in Arizona. According to Tyler, Derek owns some kind of construction business there and has offered Tyler a job. Tyler sees this as an opportunity to learn practical skills while earning money and developing a relationship with his father. The irony was staggering. Derek, who had abandoned all financial responsibility for Tyler's upbringing, was now positioning himself as the practical alternative to higher education. Derek, who had contributed nothing to Tyler's development or preparation for adulthood, was suddenly offering career guidance and father-son bonding opportunities. Marcus, I need to tell you something that Tyler doesn't know. Derek doesn't pay child support. He hasn't contributed anything to Tyler's expenses for 12 years. I've been sending Sarah $500 every month to help with Tyler's costs, and I've paid for his private school tuition. Marcus stared at me. Tyler doesn't know this. I don't think so. Sarah and I agreed years ago that Tyler shouldn't have to worry about financial details. We wanted him to focus on his education and development without feeling guilty about the cost or responsible for adult decisions. Richard, this changes everything. Tyler believes that Derek has been supporting him financially, but that Derek is too proud to make a big deal about it. Tyler thinks Derek is humble and hardworking while you are showy and manipulative with money. I felt like I had been punched in the chest. Tyler's entire understanding of our family financial dynamics was backwards. He saw Derek as the selfless, hardworking father and me as the wealthy uncle trying to buy influence. The reality that That Derek had abandoned all responsibility while I had quietly supported Tyler's development was completely unknown to him. Has Tyler mentioned anything about Derek's background or current situation? Only that Derek learned construction skills in the military and started his own business after leaving the service. Tyler seems to think Derek represents authentic American values of hard work and independence, as opposed to what he calls your white-collar manipulation tactics. I realized I needed to learn more about Derek's actual situation and what he was really offering Tyler. Something about this whole arrangement felt wrong, but I needed facts rather than suspicions. Marcus, thank you for telling me this. I know you're not supposed to discuss students' personal situations. Richard, I'm telling you this because Tyler is making a huge mistake, and I don't think he has accurate information to base his decision on. In my professional opinion, Derek's reappearance and the timing of these college doubts are not coincidental. I drove home that afternoon feeling like my entire relationship with Tyler had been built on quicksand. For 12 years, I'd been quietly supporting his development, while Derek provided nothing but criticism and manipulation. Now Tyler was preparing to abandon his educational opportunities to chase a fantasy of father-son bonding with a man who had demonstrated zero commitment to his well-being. But the worst revelation was still to come. That evening, I called my accountant to review the monthly payments I had been making to Sarah. I needed to organize my financial records and understand exactly how much I had invested in Tyler's upbringing and education. What I discovered made everything else seem insignificant by comparison. For the past 2 years, Sarah had not been depositing my monthly checks into Tyler's educational savings account as we had agreed. Instead, she had been depositing them into her personal checking account and using the money for her own expenses. Bank records showed regular payments for a car loan department store purchases and cash withdrawals at Atlantic City casinos. Sarah had been stealing Tyler's support money while Derek convinced Tyler that my generosity was manipulative. Sarah had been funding her gambling habits with money intended for Tyler's future while allowing Derek to position himself as the alternative to my alleged control. Sarah had betrayed both Tyler and me, while pretending to be the concerned mother protecting her son from family manipulation. I was still processing this financial betrayal when my phone rang Friday evening. The caller ID showed a number I didn't recognize with an Arizona area code. "Is this Richard?" The voice was confident and slightly mocking. "Yes, who is this?" "This is Derek, Tyler's father. I think it's time we had a conversation." Derek's voice carried the same casual arrogance that I remembered from 12 years ago when he had announced his intention to leave Sarah and Tyler without warning or explanation. But now there was something else in his tone, a smug satisfaction that made my skin crawl. "Hello, Derek. Tyler mentioned that you've been in contact with him." "That's right. My son and I have been rebuilding our relationship. It's amazing how much he's grown up since I saw him last." The possessive language was deliberate and provocative. Derek was emphasizing his biological connection to Tyler while subtly challenging my role in Tyler's life. "I understand you've been giving Tyler advice about college." Derek laughed a sound completely devoid of warmth or humor. "I've been helping Tyler think about his future realistically. College isn't the right path for everyone, especially when it's being forced on someone by family members with their own agendas. Tyler chose engineering himself. He's been excited about Colorado State for months. Tyler thinks he chose engineering because that's what you wanted him to believe. Young people are easily influenced by authority figures, especially when those authority figures use money to create dependency." I could hear the coached language in Derek's response. These weren't his original thoughts about education or family dynamics. He had clearly researched psychological manipulation tactics and was using them deliberately. "Derek, you haven't been part of Tyler's life for 12 years. You don't know anything about his interests or goals?" "Actually, Richard, I know more about my son than you realize. I know that he's been feeling trapped by your expectations and your financial control. I know that he's ready to start making his own decisions about his future." and I know that he's driving to Arizona tomorrow to begin a new chapter of his life with his real father. The words hit me like a physical blow. Tomorrow. That's right. Tyler and I have been planning this for weeks. He's finally ready to break free from your manipulation and start living authentically. It's amazing how quickly young people can see through fake generosity once someone helps them understand what's really happening. Derek was describing Tyler's departure as a liberation from my control rather than an abandonment of his educational opportunities. In Derek's narrative, Tyler was escaping manipulation rather than making a catastrophic mistake that would limit his future options. Derek Tyler has been accepted to one of the best engineering programs in the country. He has a full scholarship and a guaranteed place in advanced mathematics courses. Why would you encourage him to give that up? Because college is a scam designed to create debt and dependency. Tyler can learn more about the real world in 1 year working with me than he would in 4 years sitting in classrooms listening to theoretical nonsense from professors who have never held actual jobs. And what exactly would Tyler be doing while working with you? Learning practical skills. Construction project management, business development. Skills that actually matter in the real world instead of academic theories that have no application to actual life. Derek's description of Tyler's opportunities was vague and unrealistic. Construction and project management required years of training and experience. Business development required capital and established relationships. Derek was promising Tyler immediate access to career opportunities that normally took decades to develop. Derek, I need to ask you directly. Are you planning to support Tyler financially while he's living with you and learning these skills? Tyler doesn't need financial support from family members. He needs independence and self-reliance. I'm offering him the opportunity to earn his own way through honest work, instead of accepting handouts that come with strings attached. So Tyler will be supporting himself immediately upon arrival in Arizona. Tyler will be learning to support himself, which is what real fathers teach their sons, instead of buying their loyalty with expensive gifts. The contempt in Derek's voice was unmistakable. He wasn't just rejecting my approach to helping Tyler. He was openly mocking it. Derek saw my 12 years of financial support as weakness and manipulation, rather than genuine care for Tyler's development. Derek, I'm curious about something. How did you reconnect with Tyler after all these years? I found Tyler on Facebook 6 months ago. It wasn't difficult once I decided to reach out. Young people appreciate honesty about family dynamics, especially when they're old enough to understand how adults manipulate children through false generosity. 6 months. Derek had been working on Tyler for 6 months, gradually poisoning his perception of our family relationships and preparing him for this moment. Derek had approached Tyler just as he was making final preparations for college, timing his intervention to maximize disruption and confusion. And Sarah has been supportive of Tyler's relationship with you. Sarah understands that Tyler needs his father in his life. She's been very cooperative about facilitating our communication and helping Tyler see through the manipulation he's been experiencing from other family members. Derek was confirming that Sarah had been actively participating in this plan rather than simply allowing it to happen. Sarah had been working with Derek to turn Tyler against me while continuing to accept my financial support and deposit it into her personal account. Well, Derek, I appreciate you calling to inform me about Tyler's plans. I'm not calling to inform you, Richard. I'm calling to tell you that Tyler won't be needing your financial assistance anymore. He won't be needing your college tuition payments or your monthly allowance or your expensive birthday gifts. Tyler is going to learn what it means to be a real man instead of a dependent child. Derek was savoring this moment of triumph. He had successfully turned Tyler against me, convinced Sarah to betray my trust, and positioned himself as Tyler's salvation from family manipulation. Derek was experiencing the satisfaction of destroying relationships that had taken me 12 years to build. Derek, I have one more question for you. What's that? What exactly happened 12 years ago when you left Sarah and Tyler? The line went quiet for several seconds. That's between Sarah and me. It has nothing to do with Tyler's current decisions about his future. I think it has everything to do with Tyler's current decisions. Tyler is about to abandon his education to move in with a father who abandoned him when he was 8 years old. Tyler deserves to understand why you left and why you're back now. I left because I wasn't ready to be a father then. Now I am. People grow and change, Richard. Tyler understands that. And what exactly made you ready to be a father now? Tyler doesn't need my life history. He needs support for his current decisions and guidance about his future. That's what I'm providing. Derek ended the call without saying goodbye, but his message had been delivered clearly. Tyler was leaving tomorrow. Sarah had been working with Derek to facilitate this plan. And Derek saw himself as rescuing Tyler from my influence rather than disrupting Tyler's carefully planned future. I sat in my living room that evening trying to process the complete destruction of relationships I had believed were solid and meaningful. Tyler saw me as manipulative rather than supportive. Sarah saw me as controlling rather than generous. Derek saw me as an obstacle to be overcome rather than a family member who had stepped up when he walked away. But something about Derek's story didn't feel right. His explanations were too rehearsed, his confidence too absolute, and his timing too convenient. Derek had reappeared just as Tyler was preparing for college, just as Tyler would need transportation and financial support for his transition to independence. Derek was positioning himself as the alternative to my support, but he hadn't explained how he planned to provide genuine guidance or opportunities for Tyler's development. I needed to understand what Derek was really offering Tyler and whether his promises about construction work and business opportunities had any basis in reality. I needed to know if Derek was genuinely trying to rebuild a relationship with his son, or if he had other motivations for disrupting Tyler's educational plans. Saturday morning, I hired a private investigator named Jennifer Walsh, who specialized in background checks and financial investigations. I gave her Derek's full name, his Arizona location, and everything I knew about his current situation. I needed facts about Derek's life and circumstances before Tyler arrived in Arizona and potentially made irreversible decisions about his future. Jennifer promised to have preliminary results within 48 hours, but I suspected that Tyler would already be gone by then. If I was going to prevent Tyler from making a catastrophic mistake, I needed to act quickly with whatever information I could gather. But Jennifer's initial findings, which she called me with that same evening, revealed something far worse than I had imagined. Derek wasn't just an absent father trying to reconnect with his son. Derek was a convicted con artist with a criminal record spanning 3 states and over 15 years. Derek had been arrested for investment fraud in Nevada, identity theft in California, and elder abuse in Colorado. Derek had stolen retirement funds from senior citizens, created fake business opportunities to defraud investors, and used personal relationships to gain access to victims' financial information. Derek wasn't offering Tyler legitimate work opportunities in Arizona. Derek was grooming Tyler to become his next victim in an elaborate financial fraud scheme. Derek's construction business was a front operation designed to steal money from clients and disappear before projects were completed. Derek's promises about teaching Tyler practical skills were lies intended to gain Tyler's trust and access to his financial information. But the most devastating revelation was still coming. Jennifer's research revealed that Derek had been using Tyler's identity to apply for credit cards and loans for the past 3 months. Derek had Tyler's social security number, birth certificate information, and enough personal details to successfully impersonate him for financial applications. Derek was already committing identity theft against his own son, while convincing Tyler that moving to Arizona was about father-son bonding and independence. Tyler wasn't just abandoning his education to live with Derek. Tyler was unknowingly participating in criminal activity that would destroy his credit history and potentially result in federal charges against him. Derek was using Tyler's clean financial record and lack of criminal history to access credit and loans that Derek could never qualify for himself. Tyler had no idea that his loving reunion with his father was actually the beginning of a sophisticated financial crime that would leave him financially ruined and potentially facing federal prosecution for fraud he didn't know he was committing. I had less than 12 hours to prevent Tyler from driving to Arizona and walking into a trap that would destroy his life in ways far worse than missing college opportunities. Sunday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability pressing down on me like a lead blanket. Tyler was planning to leave for Arizona that afternoon, and every minute that passed brought him closer to a catastrophe he couldn't see coming. I had to warn him about Derek's real intentions, but Tyler had blocked my phone number and refused to see me as anything other than a controlling uncle trying to sabotage his relationship with his father. I drove to Tyler's house at 7 in the morning, hoping to catch him before he finished loading his car for the cross-country drive. His driveway contained a beat-up Honda Civic that I assumed belonged to Derek, along with several cardboard boxes and a duffel bag sitting on the front porch. Tyler was clearly preparing for his departure, but he wasn't anywhere to be seen. I knocked on the front door repeatedly, then walked around the house looking for any sign of activity inside. The curtains were drawn, and I couldn't tell if Tyler was sleeping or if he had already left. After 20 minutes of waiting, I decided to try a different approach. Riverside Preparatory Academy held graduation practice every Sunday morning during the final weeks of the school year. Tyler was scheduled to graduate in 6 days, and attendance at practice sessions was mandatory for all graduating seniors. If I couldn't reach Tyler at home, I could wait for him at school and try to intercept him there. I arrived at the school parking lot at 9:15 and positioned myself near the main entrance where graduating students were gathering for their final practice session. Tyler arrived 10 minutes later driving the Honda Civic and looking relaxed and happy. He was talking on his phone as he walked toward the building, completely unaware that I was watching him from across the parking lot. I waited until Tyler finished his phone call, then approached him directly. "Tyler, I need to talk to you about Derek." Tyler looked up and saw me, and his expression immediately changed from casual happiness to angry defensiveness. "What are you doing here? Are you seriously stalking me at school now?" Several other students had stopped to watch our confrontation, clearly recognizing the tension between us. Tyler was performing for his audience, positioning himself as the victim of unwanted attention from an obsessive relative. Tyler Derek has a criminal record. He's been arrested for fraud in multiple states. I hired a private investigator, and Derek is not who he says he is. You hired a private investigator to spy on my father? Are you insane? Derek has been using your identity to apply for credit cards and loans. He's already committed identity theft against you, and you don't even know it. Tyler stared at me for a moment, then started laughing in a way that was both bitter and genuinely amused. "This is unbelievable. You're so desperate to control me that you're making up criminal accusations against my own father. You hired someone to investigate him because you can't stand that I chose him over you." "Tyler, I have documentation." Derek has been arrested for elder abuse and investment fraud. He's been targeting senior citizens and stealing their retirement money. Right. And you just happened to discover all this information right before I'm supposed to move in with him. What a convenient coincidence. The students around us were clearly enjoying this drama. Tyler was playing to their reactions, treating my warnings as entertainment rather than genuine concern for his safety. I can show you the background check results. Derek's business in Arizona is fake. He doesn't own a construction company. He's running a scam operation designed to defraud clients. You know what's really pathetic about this? Tyler's voice was getting louder, ensuring that everyone nearby could hear his response. You're so obsessed with controlling my life that you're willing to lie about my father to keep me dependent on you. Tyler Derek convinced you to open credit cards using my address as a reference. Those cards are part of a fraud scheme. You're already involved in criminal activity without knowing it. This statement finally got Tyler's attention. His performative anger shifted to something more uncertain and defensive. What are you talking about? Derek told you to open credit cards using my employment information as a reference, didn't he? He said it was normal business planning for young adults. Tyler's expression became guarded. Derek taught me how to build credit responsibly. There's nothing criminal about establishing credit history. Tyler Derek is using those credit cards to commit fraud. The applications contain false information, and Derek is planning to use the cards for illegal purchases before defaulting on the payments. That's not true. Derek explained everything to me. Building credit is important for financial independence. But I could see uncertainty creeping into Tyler's voice. Derek's explanations about credit building were starting to sound less convincing when framed as part of a criminal fraud scheme. Tyler, how many credit cards did Derek help you apply for? That's none of your business. Did Derek ask you to use my address on the applications? Did he tell you to list my employment information as a reference? Tyler didn't respond, but his defensive silence was answer enough. Derek had clearly coached Tyler through a series of credit applications that used my information to increase the chances of approval. Derek told me that using family employment references was normal for young people building credit. Tyler, that's fraud. Using someone else's employment information without their permission is illegal. Derek has been using you to commit financial crimes. You're lying. Derek wouldn't do that to me. Tyler, I can prove everything I'm telling you. Derek has been arrested multiple times for exactly this type of crime. He targets young people with clean credit histories and convinces them to participate in fraud schemes. I don't believe you. Then come with me right now to the police station. We can show them the credit card applications and Derek's background check results. If I'm lying, the police will confirm that Derek is legitimate. Tyler stared at me for a long moment, clearly torn between his faith in Derek and his growing doubts about the credit card situation. I'm not going anywhere with you. Derek is picking me up in 2 hours, and we're driving to Arizona together. Nothing you say is going to change that. Tyler, if you leave with Derek, you'll be crossing state lines with someone who is planning to use your identity for federal crimes. That makes you an accessory to fraud even if you don't understand what's happening. Stop trying to scare me with legal threats. Derek is my father and he's trying to help me become independent. You're just angry because I don't need your money anymore. Tyler walked away from me and headed toward the school building, ending our conversation before I could present any more evidence about Derek's criminal history. But I could see that my warnings had shaken his confidence even if he wasn't willing to admit it. I followed Tyler into the school and found Marcus Webb's office. Marcus was preparing materials for graduation practice, but he looked up immediately when I knocked on his door. Richard, what are you doing here on Sunday? Marcus Tyler is leaving for Arizona today with Derek. I need to show you something that might change your perspective on Derek's influence. I handed Marcus the private investigator's preliminary report, which contained Derek's arrest records and criminal background information. Marcus read through the documents carefully, his expression growing more concerned with each page. Richard, this is serious. Derek has been convicted of multiple felonies involving financial fraud. If Tyler is involved with Derek's business activities, he could be charged as an accomplice. Tyler doesn't know about Derek's background. Derek has convinced Tyler that he's a legitimate businessman offering career opportunities. Tyler thinks I'm making up criminal accusations because I'm jealous of their relationship. Marcus shook his head. I need to report this to the school administration immediately. Tyler is still a minor for 6 more days, and we have a responsibility to protect students from potential criminal exploitation. Tyler is 18, Marcus. He's legally an adult, and he's made his decision. I don't think the school can prevent him from leaving with Derek. We can't prevent him, but we can document his situation and make sure he has access to accurate information about Derek's background. Tyler deserves to know who he's trusting with his future. Marcus picked up his phone and started calling school administrators, but I knew that official interventions would only reinforce Tyler's belief that adults were trying to control his decisions. Tyler would see school involvement as proof that I was manipulating authority figures to interfere with his relationship with Derek. I left the school feeling completely helpless. Tyler was determined to leave with Derek in 2 hours, convinced that Derek represented freedom and independence rather than criminal exploitation. My efforts to warn Tyler had only strengthened his resolve to reject my influence and trust Derek's guidance. But as I drove home, I realized that direct confrontation wasn't the only option available to me. If I couldn't convince Tyler to stay, maybe I could prevent Derek from completing his fraud scheme. Maybe I could protect Tyler by exposing Derek's criminal activities before Tyler became too deeply involved to escape without legal consequences. I called the FBI's Financial Crimes Division and reported Derek's identity theft activities involving Tyler's credit information. I provided them with Derek's criminal background, his current location in Arizona, and details about the credit cards Tyler had been convinced to apply for. The FBI agent I spoke with explained that interstate fraud investigations could take months to complete, but they would open a file and begin monitoring Derek's activities. If Derek attempted to use Tyler's credit cards for large purchases or cash advances, they would have grounds for immediate arrest. But Tyler would be in Arizona with Derek long before any FBI investigation could protect him from immediate exploitation. I needed a way to intervene directly in Derek's plans without waiting for federal law enforcement to build a case. That's when I realized that Derek's greatest weakness was also his greatest strength. Derek was a confidence man who succeeded by manipulating people's emotions and exploiting their trust. But confidence men were also vulnerable to their own greed and overconfidence. If I could convince Derek that I represented an even better opportunity than Tyler, I might be able to divert Derek's attention away from Tyler long enough for Tyler to see Derek's true nature. Derek wanted to destroy my relationship with Tyler and position himself as Tyler's salvation from family manipulation. But Derek also wanted money, and I had access to far more money than Tyler could provide through credit card fraud. If I offered Derek a larger and easier target, he might reveal his real motivations in ways that Tyler couldn't ignore. I decided to call Derek and propose a meeting that would expose his criminal intentions while protecting Tyler from becoming an unwitting accomplice to federal crimes. It was a dangerous plan that required me to present myself as a potential victim of Derek's fraud scheme. But it was the only strategy I could think of that might save Tyler from destroying his life before he was old enough to understand the consequences of trusting his father's promises. Sunday afternoon was running out quickly, and I could feel Tyler's departure approaching like an unstoppable avalanche. But Derek's overconfidence had given me an idea that might work if I could execute it perfectly. Derek saw himself as the master manipulator who had successfully turned Tyler against me. Derek's ego and greed might make him vulnerable to a deception that played to his sense of superiority. I called the FBI agent again and explained my plan to meet with Derek under false pretenses. Agent Sarah Chen listened carefully and agreed to provide backup support if Derek attempted to escalate his criminal activities during our meeting. Agent Chen explained that they could monitor our conversation and intervene if Derek made any explicit threats or attempted to involve me in his fraud schemes. At 4:30, I called Derek's phone number and waited for him to answer with his characteristic smugness. "Richard, I was wondering if you'd call to beg me not to take Tyler away from you." "Actually, Derek, I'm calling to apologize." The silence that followed lasted long enough that I thought Derek might have hung up. "Apologize for what?" "For not understanding Tyler's need for independence, for trying to control his decisions through financial manipulation, for interfering with his relationship with his real father." Derek's voice became cautious and suspicious. "What are you trying to do, Richard?" "I'm trying to do the right thing for Tyler. You've opened my eyes to how my behavior has been affecting him, and I want to make amends." "Make amends how?" "I want to contribute to Tyler's fresh start in Arizona. I want to show both of you that I can support Tyler's independence instead of undermining it." Derek was clearly struggling to understand my sudden change in perspective. His manipulation tactics had been designed to create conflict and resentment, not cooperation and financial support. "Tyler doesn't need your money, Richard. Tyler needs freedom from your control." "I understand that now." but Tyler also needs resources to succeed in Arizona. You're offering him opportunities to learn practical skills and develop independence, but those opportunities require financial support during the transition period. What kind of financial support? I could hear the greed creeping into Derek's voice. Derek's principles about Tyler's independence were negotiable if sufficient money was involved. I'd like to contribute $25,000 to help Tyler establish himself in Arizona. Consider it an investment in his future independence rather than an attempt to maintain control over his decisions. Derek was quiet for almost a minute, clearly trying to assess whether this offer was genuine or some kind of trap. $25,000? That's right. Enough to cover Tyler's living expenses for his first year while he learns construction skills and develops his relationship with you. And what would you want in return for this money? Nothing except Tyler's happiness and success. I want him to have the best possible chance to succeed with his new life in Arizona. Derek's voice became more confident as he began to believe that his manipulation had been even more successful than he had planned. Richard, I have to admit I didn't expect this level of maturity from you. Tyler and I were prepared for you to try to sabotage our relationship. I've been thinking about what you said yesterday about real fathers teaching independence instead of dependence. You're right about Tyler needing to learn self-reliance. That's exactly right. Tyler has been sheltered from real-world challenges by your financial support. Living with me will teach him how to solve problems and create value through his own efforts. Derek was warming to his favorite topic, the superiority of his parenting philosophy compared to my supposed manipulation tactics. Derek, I'd like to meet with you and Tyler in person to present this financial contribution properly. I want Tyler to see that I respect his decisions and support his independence. Meet where? Somewhere convenient for both of us. You're driving through Colorado anyway, so we could meet for dinner tomorrow evening before you continue to Arizona. Derek was clearly considering the logistics and potential benefits of such a meeting. Where would you want to meet? There's a family restaurant called Mitchell's Steakhouse in Fort Collins. It's right off Interstate 25, so it wouldn't add any time to your drive to Arizona. We could have dinner and I could present the money as a graduation gift for Tyler. $25,000 in cash? In cash, yes. No checks or bank transfers that could be traced or reversed. I want this to be a clean break that gives Tyler complete financial independence for his first year in Arizona. Derek was becoming more excited as he contemplated this unexpected windfall. $25,000 in cash was far more valuable than anything Derek could extract from Tyler through credit card fraud, and it came with no risk of criminal prosecution. Richard, this is a very generous offer. I think Tyler would appreciate the gesture, especially if it represents your acceptance of his decision to build a relationship with his real father. That's exactly what it represents. Tyler has made his choice, and I want to support that choice instead of fighting against it. All right, tomorrow evening at Mitchell's Steakhouse in Fort Collins. What time? 7 o'clock. That should give you plenty of time to finish the drive to Colorado from Arizona. We're not coming from Arizona, Richard. We're leaving from Tyler's house this evening and driving straight through to Fort Collins. We'll be there tomorrow afternoon. I had misunderstood Derek's plan. Derek wasn't driving to Colorado to pick up Tyler. Derek was already in Colorado, and they were leaving together that evening. Tyler was going to be in Derek's custody within hours, not tomorrow afternoon. Derek, I want to make sure Tyler is comfortable with this meeting. Has he agreed to it? Tyler will do whatever I think is best for our relationship. He trusts my judgment about family dynamics. Derek's casual dismissal of Tyler's input revealed something important about their relationship dynamic. Derek saw Tyler as someone to be directed rather than consulted. Derek's promises about teaching Tyler independence were contradicted by his assumption that Tyler would automatically comply with Derek's decisions. I'm looking forward to meeting you both tomorrow evening. Richard, I'm curious about something. What changed your mind about Tyler's decision to move in with me? This was Derek's attempt to confirm that his manipulation tactics had been successful. Derek wanted to hear me admit that his psychological strategies had broken down my resistance and forced me to accept Tyler's rejection. You helped me understand that my generosity was really about my own need to feel important rather than Tyler's actual needs. Tyler doesn't need a wealthy uncle trying to guide his life. Tyler needs a father who will teach him how to be a man. Derek was practically purring with satisfaction. That's exactly right, Richard. Tyler needs authentic masculine guidance, not financial manipulation disguised as family love. I've learned a lot about myself through this experience. Thank you for helping me see how my behavior was affecting Tyler. Tyler is lucky to have a father who can protect him from manipulation and teach him about real-world independence. Derek ended the call feeling completely victorious. He had turned Tyler against me, convinced Sarah to betray my trust, and now extracted a promise of $25,000 as a reward for his successful manipulation. Derek believed he had achieved the perfect con, destroying my relationship with Tyler while profiting financially from my desperation to maintain family connections. But Derek had also revealed crucial information about his real intentions and methods. Derek had admitted that Tyler would comply with his decisions without question. Derek had described his role as protecting Tyler from manipulation while simultaneously manipulating Tyler himself. Derek had positioned himself as the superior father figure while demonstrating authoritarian control over Tyler's choices. Most importantly, Derek had agreed to a meeting that would take place in front of Tyler and in a public location where FBI agents could monitor our conversation. If Derek revealed his criminal intentions or made explicit threats during our meeting, Tyler would witness his father's true character without my having to convince Tyler through arguments or evidence. Derek's greed and overconfidence had led him to accept a meeting that would expose him to both Tyler and federal law enforcement. Derek thought he was collecting a reward for his successful manipulation, but he was actually walking into a trap that would demonstrate his real motives for everyone to see. I called Agent Chen and confirmed the details of our meeting for Monday evening. Agent Chen assured me that undercover agents would be positioned throughout the restaurant and that Derek's conversation would be recorded as evidence if he revealed criminal intent. Tyler was about to discover what kind of man his father really was, and Derek was going to provide that education himself through his own words and actions. The next 18 hours would determine whether Tyler's future involved college and legitimate opportunities or criminal prosecution and destroyed credit history. But for the first time since this nightmare began, I felt like I had a real chance to save Tyler from Derek's manipulation before it was too late. Monday evening arrived with unseasonably cool weather and the kind of gray sky that made everything feel uncertain and charged with potential. I arrived at Mitchell's Steakhouse 30 minutes early, choosing a table near the center of the dining room, where our conversation would be clearly visible and audible to the undercover FBI agents positioned throughout the restaurant. Agent Chen had briefed me that morning about how to handle Derek if he became suspicious or aggressive. I was wearing a small recording device, and backup agents were prepared to intervene if Derek attempted to leave with Tyler or made any explicit threats. The goal was to let Derek reveal his true intentions naturally through normal conversation rather than trying to trap him into admissions. At exactly 7 o'clock, Derek and Tyler walked through the front entrance of the restaurant. Tyler looked tired from the long drive, but he was smiling and animated as he talked to Derek about something I couldn't hear from across the room. Derek looked exactly as I remembered him from 12 years ago. Average height, confident posture, and the kind of practiced smile that never quite reached his eyes. They approached the table I had reserved, and I stood up to greet them both. "Tyler, Derek, thank you for agreeing to meet with me." Tyler looked uncomfortable and uncertain, clearly not sure how to behave toward me after everything that had happened over the past week. Derek, by contrast, was relaxed and confident, playing the role of the gracious victor who could afford to be magnanimous toward his defeated opponent. "Richard, I have to say Tyler and I were surprised by your phone call yesterday. This is a very mature way to handle our family situation. I've had time to think about everything you said, Derek. You were right about Tyler needing independence and authentic guidance. Tyler was studying my face carefully, trying to determine whether my change in attitude was genuine or some kind of manipulation tactic. Tyler had been prepared for conflict and confrontation, not cooperation and financial support. We ordered dinner and spent the first 20 minutes discussing Tyler's plans for Arizona and Derek's construction business. Derek described various projects Tyler would be working on, learning practical skills while contributing to real-world problem-solving. Derek painted an appealing picture of father-son collaboration and hands-on education that sounded much more engaging than college classrooms. Tyler became increasingly enthusiastic as Derek described their future together. Tyler talked about his excitement to learn construction techniques, his interest in project management, and his appreciation for Derek's willingness to teach him practical skills that would have immediate economic value. Tyler, I can see how excited you are about this opportunity, I said. Derek, you've clearly thought carefully about how to structure Tyler's learning experience. Tyler needs to understand how business really works instead of just studying theories in college courses. Working with me, Tyler will learn about client relationships, project planning, budget management, and quality control. Derek was performing beautifully, presenting himself as the practical educator who could provide Tyler with real-world skills that college could never teach. Derek's confidence was absolute, and Tyler was absorbing every word as validation of his decision to choose Derek over college. Derek, I'm curious about the business opportunities you mentioned. How exactly do you structure client relationships? Construction projects require careful planning and significant upfront investment. Clients pay deposits to cover materials and initial labor costs. Then we complete the work according to specifications and timelines. And Tyler would be involved in managing client relationships. Tyler needs to learn every aspect of business operations. Client communication, contract negotiation, financial planning. These are skills that will serve him throughout his career. Derek was describing Tyler's role in terms that sounded educational and empowering. But I could see the foundation being laid for Tyler's involvement in Derek's fraud schemes. Derek was preparing Tyler to interact with clients and handle financial transactions without understanding the criminal nature of Derek's business model. That sounds like valuable experience for Tyler. Derek, I'm impressed by your commitment to Tyler's development. Derek smiled with genuine satisfaction. Tyler deserves a father who will invest time and energy in his future, instead of just throwing money at problems. This comment was directed at me, of course, but Derek delivered it without malice or anger. Derek was confident enough in his victory that he could afford to be subtle with his insults. Speaking of money, Derek, I wanted to present Tyler with the graduation gift we discussed. I reached into my jacket and pulled out an envelope that appeared to contain substantial cash. Tyler's eyes widened as I placed it on the table between us. $25,000 to help Tyler establish himself during his first year in Arizona. Tyler stared at the envelope, clearly overwhelmed by the amount of money I was offering. Derek reached across the table and picked up the envelope, examining it with obvious satisfaction. Richard, this is extremely generous. Tyler, your uncle is making a significant contribution to your independence. But when Derek opened the envelope, his expression changed completely. Instead of cash, the envelope contained copies of his criminal arrest records, evidence of his identity theft activities involving Tyler, and transcripts of our recorded phone conversations where Derek had admitted to manipulating Tyler's perceptions of our family relationships. Derek's face went white as he realized what he was looking at. Tyler, seeing Derek's reaction, leaned forward to examine the contents of the envelope. "What is this?" Tyler asked, picking up one of the arrest records. "Tyler, those are your father's criminal background records. Derek has been arrested for fraud and identity theft in 3 different states." Tyler began reading through the documents while Derek sat frozen, clearly trying to figure out how to respond to this unexpected revelation. "Derek, is this true? Have you been arrested for stealing money from elderly people?" Derek's confident facade crumbled as he struggled to explain criminal charges that were documented in official court records. Tyler, these charges are old. I made some mistakes when I was younger, but I've changed. I'm trying to build a legitimate business now. Derek, according to these records, your last arrest was 18 months ago for investment fraud in Nevada. Tyler was reading the documents carefully, his excitement about Arizona fading as he absorbed the details of Derek's criminal history. Tyler, your uncle is trying to sabotage our relationship by digging up old legal problems that have nothing to do with our current plans. Derek, these aren't old legal problems. According to this FBI report, you've been using Tyler's identity to apply for credit cards and loans without his permission. Tyler looked up from the documents with confusion and growing alarm. What does that mean, Derek? You said the credit cards were for building my credit history. Derek was trapped between contradictory lies, unable to explain why he had encouraged Tyler to open credit cards while simultaneously using Tyler's identity for fraudulent applications. Tyler, building credit requires understanding how financial systems work. I was teaching you practical skills about credit management. But this document says you used Tyler's social security number to apply for loans in Arizona without Tyler knowing about it. That's identity theft. Tyler was beginning to understand that Derek's educational guidance had actually been preparation for criminal activity. Derek, did you apply for loans using my personal information? Derek's silence was more damning than any explanation he could have provided. At that moment, FBI agent Chen approached our table and identified herself to Derek. Derek Matthews, you're under arrest for interstate fraud and identity theft. As Agent Chen read Derek his rights and placed him in handcuffs, Tyler watched in shock as his father's promises of independence and practical education were revealed to be preparation for federal crimes. Tyler, your uncle Richard contacted us about Derek's criminal activities involving your identity. Derek has been using your personal information to commit fraud while convincing you that he was teaching you about credit management. Tyler stared at Derek as additional FBI agents escorted him out of the restaurant. Derek, is this true? Were you really planning to use me for criminal activities? Derek, now in handcuffs and facing federal charges, finally revealed his authentic character. Tyler, you're just a kid who doesn't understand how the real world works. Your uncle has been controlling you with money for years, and you're too naive to see it. At least I was going to teach you how to make real money, instead of depending on family handouts. Tyler's face crumbled as he realized that Derek saw him as a tool for making money rather than a son worth protecting and nurturing. Tyler, I said gently, Derek wasn't trying to build a relationship with you. Derek was grooming you to participate in fraud schemes that would have destroyed your credit and potentially resulted in federal charges against you. Tyler began crying as the full scope of Derek's manipulation became clear to him. I can't believe I trusted him. I can't believe I thought you were trying to control me when Derek was actually planning to use me for criminal activities. Tyler, Derek is a professional manipulator. He spent years learning how to exploit people's emotions and turn them against anyone who might protect them from his schemes. But I was so horrible to you. I humiliated you in front of our entire family. I called you an idiot and accused you of trying to buy respect with money. Tyler, Derek coached you to say those things. Derek convinced you that my support was manipulation, so you would reject my protection and become vulnerable to his exploitation. Tyler looked up at me with tears streaming down his face. How did you know what Derek was really planning? I hired a private investigator after Derek called me. I realized that Derek's timing was too convenient and his promises were too vague to be legitimate. When I discovered his criminal background, I contacted the FBI and arranged this meeting to expose Derek's real intentions. But why did you keep trying to protect me after I treated you so badly? Because you're family, Tyler. Real family protects each other, even when relationships become difficult. Derek taught you that love and support always come with hidden agendas, but that's not true. Sometimes people help you simply because they care about your future. Tyler spent the next hour reading through all the evidence of Derek's criminal activities and manipulation tactics. Tyler discovered that Derek had been planning to use Tyler's clean credit history to secure loans for fake construction projects, then disappear with the money while leaving Tyler responsible for massive debt and potential criminal charges. Tyler also learned that Derek had been manipulating Sarah by promising to reunite their family if she helped turn Tyler against me. Derek had exploited Sarah's loneliness and regret about their failed relationship to convince her that my generosity was harmful to Tyler's development. Tyler, I need to tell you something else about Derek's manipulation. Your mother has been depositing the monthly support checks I send into her personal account instead of using them for your education expenses. Derek convinced her that my financial support was controlling behavior rather than genuine help. Tyler stared at me. You've been sending mom money for my expenses. $500 every month for 12 years. Plus your private school tuition, your sports equipment, your college preparation courses, and everything else you've needed. I thought Derek was supporting me financially. Derek told me he was too humble to make a big deal about helping with my expenses. Derek has never contributed a penny to your upbringing, Tyler. Derek abandoned all financial responsibility when he left 12 years ago. Tyler's entire understanding of his family's financial dynamics had been completely backwards. Derek, who had provided nothing, was positioned as the humble provider. I, who had quietly supported Tyler's development for 12 years, was characterized as the manipulative controller. Tyler Derek is a master manipulator who succeeded in turning you against everyone who actually cares about your welfare. Derek's greatest skill is making victims feel grateful for the privilege of being exploited. 3 months later, Tyler started his freshman year at Colorado State University, as originally planned. Derek was sentenced to 5 years in federal prison for fraud and identity theft charges in multiple states. Sarah entered counseling to address her emotional vulnerabilities and began repaying the support money she had misused for gambling and personal expenses. Tyler wrote me a letter during his first semester explaining what he had learned from Derek's manipulation. Uncle Richard, I realize now that I confused generosity with control and manipulation with independence. Derek taught me to see your care as weakness and his exploitation as strength. Derek convinced me that accepting help made me dependent. But Derek's real goal was to make me dependent on him for criminal activities that would have destroyed my future. You protected me even when I rejected your protection, and you saved me even when I believed you were trying to harm me. Real family love means protecting people from making catastrophic mistakes even when they don't appreciate that protection until later. Thank you for refusing to give up on me even when I gave up on myself. Tyler's experience taught me that authentic family relationships require both unconditional care and firm boundaries. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is preventing them from destroying their own future, even when they interpret that prevention as interference or control. Derek's manipulation succeeded temporarily because he exploited Tyler's natural desire for independence and adult recognition. Derek positioned himself as the liberating alternative to family structure, but Derek's real intention was to replace one form of dependency with a much more dangerous and exploitative relationship. True independence requires education, legitimate opportunities, and supportive relationships that encourage growth and responsibility. Derek offered Tyler the illusion of independence while planning to use Tyler's naivety and trust for criminal purposes that would have limited Tyler's real options for decades. Tyler learned that rejecting help from people who genuinely care about your welfare doesn't create independence. It makes you vulnerable to exploitation by people who see your isolation as an opportunity for manipulation. The most important lesson from this experience is that love and manipulation are often difficult to distinguish when you're the target of professional, psychological manipulation. Derek spent months conditioning Tyler to interpret my support as control and Derek's exploitation as liberation. Tyler's temporary rejection of our family relationships wasn't a character flaw. It was the predictable result of sophisticated manipulation by someone who understood how to exploit Tyler's developmental stage and family dynamics. Real family bonds survive manipulation attempts because authentic care is consistent over time, while manipulative relationships require constant reinforcement and an isolation from other perspectives. Derek's hold over Tyler collapsed as soon as Tyler could see Derek's real character and intentions clearly. Tyler's experience also taught our family that financial generosity requires transparency and communication to prevent misunderstanding and manipulation. Tyler deserved to understand how his education and opportunities were being funded so he could make informed decisions about family relationships and future obligations. Today, Tyler is thriving in his engineering program and working part-time to develop personal responsibility and financial independence. Tyler visits me regularly for simple dinners where we talk about his studies, his goals, and his growing understanding of how families support each other through challenges and transitions. Sarah has completed counseling and now manages her finances responsibly while working to rebuild trust with both Tyler and me. Sarah learned that betraying family relationships for the promise of romantic reconciliation only creates more pain and instability for everyone involved. The relationship between Tyler and me is stronger now than it was before Derek's manipulation because Tyler understands the difference between genuine support and exploitative control. Tyler appreciates family generosity more deeply because he has experienced the alternative of manipulation disguised as love. Derek's attempt to destroy our family relationships ultimately strengthened them by forcing us to examine our communication patterns and commitment to each other's welfare. Tyler learned that family love doesn't always feel comfortable or convenient, but it remains constant even when individual family members make mistakes or poor decisions. The experience taught me that protecting people sometimes requires accepting their temporary rejection and anger while working behind the scenes to prevent them from making irreversible mistakes. Tyler needed to see Derek's true character for himself rather than simply accepting my warnings about Derek's intentions. Most importantly, Tyler learned that real independence comes from education, legitimate opportunities, and relationships that encourage growth rather than exploitation. Derek's promise of immediate adult status was actually an attempt to prevent Tyler from developing the knowledge and skills that create genuine independence and security. Tyler's story demonstrates that family manipulation can be defeated by patience, persistence, and commitment to truth over temporary popularity or approval. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for family members is protect them from consequences they're not prepared to handle, even when they interpret that protection as interference or control. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a situation where someone you trusted tried to turn you against family members who were genuinely trying to help you? How did you recognize the manipulation, and what helped you rebuild those important relationships? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your experience might help someone else who's dealing with similar family manipulation. If this story resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe for more real-life stories about family dynamics, trust, and protecting the people you care about. Share this story with anyone who might benefit from understanding how manipulation tactics work and how authentic family love persists even through difficult challenges. Thank you for listening to Tyler's story and mine. Remember that real family relationships are built on consistency, honesty, and genuine care for each other's long-term welfare. Sometimes protecting the people you love requires difficult decisions and temporary misunderstanding, but authentic family bonds survive manipulation because true care doesn't depend on constant approval or gratitude.